Okay, so it's video time. Um, let's think. What do we want to show off? What do we want to show off? Well, I guess the easiest thing to think of would be these. Last couple days, I've decided to finally get around to doing something I've wanted to do for about a year and a half. One of the original reasons I even rewrote ICBM. I wanted to make it so that missiles actually stuck in the ground, and not in a way where, you think of arrows. Like, let me get an arrow out real quick. So the normal Minecraft arrow, when it impacts, it just kind of sticks into whatever it wants to stick into. It'll stick in players, enemies, whatever. It sticks in things. This is cool. You can pick it up, etc., etc. The downside to this is it's an entity. Entities will eventually go away. I mean, when you attack them, they die, they move, etc. I wanted something a lot more static, something stationary, something I could manipulate and play with. Though I do still plan to add entity versions that do stick into the ground. This just allows me to add permanent long-term versions of the missile that you can't really push. Although I will allow it to be moved in the future, including where if you left click it, it'll go off, right click it, you can pick it up and possibly it'll go off. I mean, after all, these are unexploded ordnance. Although in this case, these are the endothermic missiles. I've programmed any missile that doesn't explode, like TNT, now will drop into the ground. I'll show a couple examples here. Do that. Okay, so we got straight down to the ground. Now, whatever position the missile was in when it impacted, it will remain in that position. So if it like skips across the ground, it'll stay there. If you shoot it in the block, it'll stay in the block. Now, the position it impacts versus how it renders and everything else is not quite synced yet. On top of the fact that the position on the server and client is slightly off because Minecraft just happens to be that way. But these are not going to be in the exact position to hit. Now, I'm going to work on that because Minecraft does give me the hit position. So I'm going to slowly improve these to actually be in their correct position. But right now, they pretty much work. Now, if they hit lava, they're going to destroy themselves. I made sure to implement code like that, but any other fluid, they're going to pop in here. Now, when I was talking about earlier implementing entity version, this is why I was going to implement an entity version. I can easily fix this in the tile, but I don't want to take over the fluid rendering for every possible fluid, because I'll hit things like, say, oil here, for example. I can make this work, but it won't render right. I can do it for other fluids. I know there's several fluids that it won't work right. And then you also get issues like this. This is actually supposed to be rendering inside the cake. I'm working on it. The plan is when the cake missile lands, you're going to have a missile sticking out of it, which, I gotta be honest, is not going to be the most appetizing thing ever. I'll add two different versions of the cake missile later, one with the missile in it, one without the missile in it. So you can have a little bit of fun with both ways. But moving over here to this nicely generated ravine, I could show off the impact in the side a little bit better. It does like a really, really good job of impacting the side. Now there's a couple of render issues because I just coded this yesterday. I will be improving it a lot. There'll be a lot of different variations on how this functions. There's going to be a randomization to it and a slow gravity effect. So even if it sticks in the wall, slowly but surely it's going to fall out of the wall and potentially it'll hit this block and then flop down into the bottom and go off. Especially if the ordnance didn't go off. In this case, the endothermic ordnance did go off, so it's already released, so there is no active warhead, and you could just come over right and pick this up. I think that went into my inventory. Well, I thought it did. It probably is there. There's a few issues. One of the big things when you work on inventories for Minecraft, if you add an item to a player's inventory and you don't tell Minecraft to update, the item is there, but it doesn't show up in the inventory. And there's no real way as a player to kind of get this to work other than, say, I can quickly do this. Eventually that missile should show up. Well, maybe not. That means it didn't actually drop. I'll work on that. But as I was about to say, the original reason I actually made these is I'm going to be working on missiles that will land and upright themselves and shoot a beam straight up and start doing certain effects. The first example I'm going to be doing is doing slime rain from the game Terraria. I've had several requests from people to do it, and to be honest, I love the slime rain. It may be annoying in the game, but it is hilarious. I'll also be doing things like fluid spouts, where it'll start shooting fluid everywhere and slowly filling up caverns, gas, smoke grenades, tornado generators from the weather mod. I'll be having these missiles that'll create localized weather effects. So instead of doing server-wide rain, because I hate server-wide rain, it's dumb, it's annoying. I'll try to do localized weather. I'll also try to do localized day-night cycles. So I'll trick every client within the radius of the missile to believing it's night or day, including even do really cool effects like making it look like you're in hell. But all of that requires that I need some kind of stationary object to make it believable. If I just make a blast go off and it turns day or night, you'll be like, ah, it's cool. But if I make a missile that then lands and then you get to see it upgrade itself with mechanical arms and then shoot a beam up in the sky, you'll be amazed. Plus you get to do really cool things like I'll have sentry guns mounted to these, so you'll be able to land sentry guns around your enemy's base and then entrap them with AA fire. I'll be doing EMP generators, shield generators, and that's my potion effect wearing off. I'm using night vision. Makes everything really easy when you forget to do the day-night cycle. Plus, I can see things underwater. Good thing to note, these do work through fluids. I think you can actually see a couple of them over here. Yep. Oh, you can see that one. Let's find some deeper water. Makes it really easy to see with deeper water. This is also why I want to do the ND thing, because I mean it replaces the block and looks kind of There we go. Places underwater. Now, in theory, these will work underwater just fine, and of course they do go through the water and explode as intended. I am working on getting the endothermics to actually freeze water. Right now, they don't recognize water as a solid block. That's the reason they don't function. It is an easy fix. Let's see. Let's show off a couple more. Now, as I said, if it's an explosive, it's not going to stick in the ground. Instead, it'll blow up, and it will now spit out scrap metal. I will be working on making these actual scraps. Right now, they're just 8th metal sheets. These are actually made out of, I believe, full sheets. No, they're made out of metal tubes. But I'll be getting these to drop things, and they'll eventually be dropping their guidance systems, engines, various parts, fuel. They'll be dropping partially damaged guidance systems here coming soon, where you can use the guidance system to track back where it came from. And it's not going to be easy. If you've seen the issue report that I made up on ICBM with some notes for the feature, the gear guidance system is going to just say the number of gear teeth it has, and you'll have to mathematically figure out what it's doing. And then the IC electrical chips, those are going to tell you basic operations. And they're going to be missing operations on it, and there's also going to be missing gears on the other one. So you're going to have to do a lot of guesswork. But what it'll do is it'll give you an operation saying it's going to go up 1,000, over 900, and down. But it won't say exactly that. It'll say, I'm going to wait 5 seconds and go up, and then I'm going to turn 90 degrees. Then I'm going to wait another 30 seconds, then turn 90 degrees towards the ground, and it's going to impact. And you'll be able to reverse engineer that and figure out what that is, and you'll get an approximated distance to where your enemy's base is. And this is to assume they're not remotely launching these missiles and not tearing down their missile silos and stuff. And which will be real interesting is that there'll be portable versions of the missile launchers. There's already like a portable tile, but I'm talking about like little vehicles to drive around. I'll be adding rail cart support here soon. That's actually on the list for this month. There's also on the list to do a little tracked vehicle if we can get the models correctly. If we can't get the models, we're probably not going to do it. Because I could, of course, make something about the size of a spider and make it move around, but if it doesn't look good and doesn't move good, it kind of defeats the purpose of what we're doing. Everything kind of needs to operate and feel well. Let's also show off, I believe I increased the range of antimatter in the last couple patches. So I'll show that off. This now does a lot more. That shouldn't have dropped scrap metal, but I changed the scrap metal code again. It should have vaporized the scrap, but that's fine. Of course, shoot a couple more things with this. It's good to know that anything that's considered destructive, so the fragmentation doesn't drop the missile. The flame explosives, if I can find them in the tab, because I believe, yeah, their icons are kind of changed again. Slime Rain, Torch Eater. Interesting, they seem to have disappeared. Oh, they're down here. These should also not drop, if they don't drop. I may change that, of course, because I'm working on getting, see where you see right now here, how these are currently just rendering like this. I'm working on making these render the block they impact. So if there was snow tile here, you'll see a snow tile render over top of this. If there was grass, trees, leaves, whatever, it'll render as part of this. That way it looks more realistic. I believe I can actually mimic that behavior real quick because that code is actually in there right now. And we can test it really, really quick. Well, almost works. But that's about it for this video. I'll show another video off here later with more progress, and see you all later.